This council calling to order April 20th, 2026, 6 p.m. We have one presentation this evening. Before we get to that, meeting minutes have been placed on file. Department reports have been received from DPW and HPD. We will follow up with Youth Department. We received an oral presentation, but we need to receive their written report, and also Senior Department. Before we go into reports from committees, we have a presentation from Brad Tito from Power Market. Those of you who were here last year, you may recall he gave us a presentation. And so, Brad, we're going to hand this over to you.
Great, thank you. So my name is Brad Tito. I'm the Director of Community Energy at Power Market. Thank you, Council President Morris and members of the Common Council. I appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening. And because some of you may recall this concept from our earlier discussion, I'm going to keep my remarks super brief and just focus on what's in front of you tonight. What we're proposing is a straightforward, standalone community solar outreach effort for Hudson residents. So Power Market is a New York-based community solar provider. We've partnered with dozens of New York municipalities from Kingston to Beacon, Utica, Ulster County, Albany County, to name just a few, to deliver these community solar savings to residents. So this is a voluntary state-regulated program that allows residents to receive savings on their electricity bills through credits applied directly by National Grid. And there's no financial risk whatsoever. We're offering guaranteed savings. There's no change to their electricity supplier, and residents can opt out at any time. Again, it's purely voluntary. And for the city, the structure is intentionally simple. There's no budget impact or cost and minimal staff burden. Power Market would manage outreach, enrollment, and customer support. The city's role is limited to reviewing outreach materials in advance of distribution. And so the resolution and memorandum of understanding, which I believe the council president has shared with you, are designed to outline roles and responsibilities. And it's pretty straightforward. I think you'll find that it's a win-win for the city, and we look forward to getting this off the ground in the next few weeks. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time and consideration.
I think, Brad, if you go over a little more what's covered in the memorandum of understanding, I don't believe that we circulated that to the full council.
Yeah, so
just go over how the process works, because we have 3 new council members who did not see your presentation last year.
Okay, sure. So the way it works is basically the MOU would outline the roles and responsibilities of Power Market and the city with respect to implementing a community campaign where Power Market would manage all the public awareness aspects. We would have you consider sending a letter from the mayor. That would be something that we would prepare and pay for in terms of the postage and the preparation of that. From the residents' perspective, they would receive this in the mail. If they liked the opportunity, they'd go to their computer and they'd enroll online through a city-branded portal. We'd handle all the enrollment. If they had any questions, we'd enroll them into this community solar program. And once the project is up and operational, that's when the savings would begin for residents. And when we do this, we typically get between 2 and 6% of all the households within the municipality to participate. So for Hudson, that would be approximately 100 or so residents.
And as I recall, Brad, last year, the source of the solar, this does not involve installing solar panels in Hudson. You have solar sources throughout the state. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, that's correct. There's no installation of any solar panels on anybody's home or business in Hudson. We are simply connecting their utility account to projects that are being built in National Grid territory somewhere. We have available capacity in a project in Oneida County, We have other projects. We actually manage something like 350 projects across New York State. So we would work with you and we would talk about the projects that we could assign to this program, but they would be saving 10%, up to 10% for the residents through those opportunities.
Any questions from council members?
I have a quick question. Would this program benefit people that may already have solar on their roof? Because, you
I
know,
remember this.
I try to ask this question. Yeah, because, you know, those usually don't cover 100% of the utilization, so figure I ask.
Yeah, so there's a New York State regulation that says that you can only benefit from one form of distributed solar at a time. So unfortunately, if you already have solar panels on your roof, you are not eligible to participate in this program.
I'm not clear what the role of the common council would be at all. It sounds like it's a commercial transaction between them and the individual.
It's primarily to authorize the mayor to enter into a agreement with them. So we have an MOU that I apologize, I did not circulate, but the council would authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement. That's all.
What exactly are you approving?
Excuse me?
What exactly are you authorizing the mayor to do that?
To enter into a memorandum of agreement with this company, with Power Market. And then they would work with the city to advertise, to communicate, to reach out to residents, do the enrollment and get people into the system, and then they could participate. You can disenroll at any time. But once we authorized the city to enter into the agreement, we don't have any other engagement.
Right.
I think
The mayor's
that's-
office.
At the mayor's office, yes.
Yeah, but okay, to make sure that,
Yeah, it's true.
it does seem like it's primarily a commercial transaction between them and individual customers. So whether the city really should have any role in that is somewhat questionable.
I'm sorry.
I said whether the city should have any role in it in facilitating commercial transactions between the vendor and individual customers.
Brad, can you speak to the city engagement with your organization? In the municipalities where you're currently active?
Yeah, so many of the municipalities in New York State, they recognize the importance of expanding access to clean renewable energy because this is a state regulated program designed specifically to provide residents with these savings. And the fact that the city is in a position whereby through various outreach channels, it could get large percentages of the population to participate. Many communities have found that it's in their public interest to choose to participate in something like this. There's also credit that the city can earn through the Climate Smart Communities program at the state level. And all of this is done at no cost, but with significant benefits, including what could amount to tens of thousands of dollars in savings to your residents.
I'd send you the materials.
Brad, in other municipalities, did it go through the mayor and get passed, or did it go through the common council?
Yeah, so we almost always enter into an MOU that would allow these programs to proceed. It's essentially the council authorizing the use of the city's letterhead and seal for the use of in promoting the program. And so that's really what you're authorizing more than anything else.
Any other questions?
I have a problem.
I'll have to check with Andy about that.
Okay.
Using the city seal or any official city documentation, seals, endorsements for commercial things. Somebody wanted to talk about with him.
Something I heard that I'm gonna talk about later and that I heard here that might be helpful to us is we are a climate smart community.
Mhm.
And some of the grants that I'm working on with Fabella, one is a climate smart community grant. And having this could make us, again, look more favorable for that type of thing. That's all I wanted to comment on.
So Brad, it's my understanding that you do not have direct consumer contracts, that this is something, a state program where you work with municipalities, correct?
Well, we do, the customer will end up signing an agreement to participate in the program. But as far as commercial agreements, I mean, we're not asking the council to opine on that at all. This is something that's been done hundreds of times in other municipalities throughout the state. Again, it's just viewed as something that's in the public interest to participate in.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I would say if it's a state sanctioned program, it's involves climate, credits for climate smart and stuff, it's probably.
It's state work. To my knowledge, there are no direct, power market to consumer arrangements that do not involve municipality.
It's probably fine, it's just.
Yes. But it goes, yeah. I apologize for not sending the MOU out to everybody. We went through this last October, I think.
Yeah. Josh Coleman is working on this
Yeah.
from the CAC, so he's the person who speaks about
Yeah.
it that I can't even, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get everything out to everybody, tomorrow, and maybe we'll discuss with Joe, maybe we can vote on this next week.
Okay.
Okay, and if Josh wants to
If
come.
Josh, yeah, you can answer questions.
All right, thank you very much, Brad.
Thank you.
Now we have reports from committees. Or to begin with, safety.
Sure. We had a great time. Well, we had, can I have that thing back that we just gave you? The. No, that's all right. Well, maybe you already gave it back. Anyhow, we had a long discussion, about traffic, really. Stop signs, street lights potentially. It would be, no right on red law, local law potential that the mayor wanted to look at. And we talked about the traffic situation, due to the detour, and then it ended with a presentation from some of the neighbors in the fourth ward around the pocketbook factory that are displeased with their quality of life being impacted by the operation of that new business. And it was presented and as a petition, and we have it on file. I think there are 36 residents that signed it, and 4 were in attendance.
And that was circulated to all of you as a communication, and it is posted on our website as a communication. So what are next steps for you on, the, right turn on red?
The right turn on red, we just had a discussion.
Yeah.
I think it's, initially I was very much against it, but for the last couple of weeks, driving around pretending we had a law that said no right on red. I'm personally driving slower, and I felt every intersection was honestly a little bit safer. And I don't really like that I'm saying that, but because I was against it completely, but just as a personal view, obviously I'm not any professional that knows traffic data, but the chief was for it. The mayor's data that he disseminated to us all pointed to an increase in pedestrian safety by over 80%. So I kind of think it's a no-brainer. But that's for us to discuss.
So are you ready to send that to the legal committee? or-
No, we still need to discuss and we
Okay.
have to figure out what location and what is the,
Oh, not a location.
I mean, what street and what line.
No, we were talking about a complete in the entire
Yeah,
city,
yeah.
not just the individual lights.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not ready yet. Yeah.
So did you discuss, third? Because,
No,
the traffic.
That's why we talk about the 3rd Street. It's like,
Third Street at the moment, if people don't turn right on red,
then it's gonna be
There's-
traffic.
there's
talk
already-
about it.
Third state.
Not,
Every third
you-
day.
also union.
That's a completely valid point, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, we are.
That is the
Okay.
input that we're still hoping to gather and from the community.
Right.
And then give it to, you know, like us, the mayor. We have not gotten any statistics from, like for accidents or traffic volume backup yet.
Right.
So we're still just easing in.
The one possibility on Third is, changing the timing of the lights.
Yeah, that is definitely
Because
something
it's a very short light when you're crossing Union.
Yeah, but the Third Street is different because it used to be like, I think I mean, they changed it like 3-4 years ago because it used to be all green at one point, and people was racing that time, you know, like try to cross from Union Street to State Street, so that's why there's light kind of different way set up.
So yeah, that's the one intersection that I think needs some thought. I'm not any intersection. I mean,
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with us?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I'm good, right?
Yeah, have you had any discussion about maybe with the one-way streets? I understand it's like probably not much. Any talks about, any discussions about maybe making the one-way sign bigger or larger or more like,
Well, we definitely, I think to your point, we definitely need to put some, one-way signs or do not enter signs on the majority of the alleys on one-way streets. And maybe alternate or change one of the, like the one-way street that was discussed on North Seventh, since it becomes two-way and then it's one-way and two-way again. Speaking to
Yeah,
one of Jason's points about the one-ways around the park. So I think it all is kind of interwoven a little bit with that kind of stuff, but the signage was discussed and the chief asked Rob to put those out in the next round of signs. So I'm assuming since the weather is breaking, I think we start that, May 1st, painting and putting signs up. So my hope is yes, that happens.
And my apologies if you just got the community, but in terms of like, bicycles and e-bikes and scooters and things like that,
We have not.
going down the wrong way on the street.
Legal committee is trying to put together, new regulations about that, but they should not be going the wrong way in the first place. And so there were 3 prongs to that we said we would do. And one was education, which was going to be, I thought, through safety. Because that's safety with the police department. Enforcement also is through safety with the police department. And legal is gonna work on, updating our code, our ordinances to, put in place requirements for helmets and that kind of thing. So
And
we're
sizes of
doing,
electric bikes probably.
that's actually very difficult because there are 3 classes.
Yeah.
And they all look the same actually, so
Yeah.
it's better to just address, e-bikes.
Okay.
And also scooters, because we have nothing about scooters. So legal is, that's next on our docket to work on, but the educational piece and the enforcement needs to be tackled in safety.
Fine.
I think, Dominic, you had some, materials relating to educational health for safety. And what we had talked about before we started the committee structure was going into the schools, going into, community centers, going to the youth department, and doing an educational campaign around safety.
Oh,
on
great.
e-bikes.
Let's give it to the chief and see if she'll put
Yeah.
something together. Or we'll give her.
Captain Miller was very much, engaged, I think,
Oh,
on the subject of safety. Okay, any updates from infrastructure?
Yeah, I'll start with no roadfront on revenue discussion as well. It involves us a little bit and, Henry kind of indicated, we started down the road of, well, where would we do no turns on red, you know, then by the time we finished talking for 5 minutes, yeah, it is just simpler to just do it citywide. And, I think afterwards, I talked to maybe Margaret about the lights are only 30 seconds in our city and, the waits are not long. So our committee also, kind of concurred with what Henry just said. During Rob's report, something that people may have heard about, was an issue on Reservoir Road in Taconic, which would be adjacent to our water reservoir. The situation there is that the city of Hudson owns both sides of a road, a dirt road, that is a bit of a local cut through. It's not a well-used road. And there's a failing culvert on that road. We do not own the culvert, we do not own the road. We are a taxpayer in the city. We own about $4 million worth of assessed property. So we pay, or the town pays taxes. So, if the town of Sonic wants to fix the culvert, they can fix the culvert. But Rob's feeling like isn't all that interested in the upkeep of that road. And at some point may offer for us to buy it, but, yeah, so he feels like that's how that goes and that's settled.
And also, Rob said like, we could access on the both sides, we don't need the culvert.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
We're,
And right now that road is accessible?
It's closed.
It's-
One direction is accessible, I think.
It's, you can't go all the way
Yeah, you
through.
can't.
They have closed because you cannot pass over the culvert. And so this came up, with, some residents from Taconic actually, and they also had issues around,
It's used by some locals.
excuse me,
It's used by some locals.
Yeah.
That road, yeah.
their impression was that the city owned the culvert. But Rob has told
Rob
us that that's not correct.
We don't own that.
So there were also concerns about a property that is adjacent to the reservoir, which is, in our code, there cannot be, debris or garbage within X number of feet of the reservoir. This is not in compliance, and my response on this came up while Rob was away, actually. That the code enforcement in Taconic needs to be addressed. Because we don't have any authority over code.
I don't think that was in the letter either. I think the letter was specific.
The letter was specifically covered, but the building was brought up to me as an issue because actually per our code, that's a compliance issue. And I think potentially we could have our code enforcement talk to Taconic, but Taconic is the one that needs to act on it. Okay,
Only pay him enough.
yes, they do actually.
The topic of the Harry Howard, Underhill Pond. Road closure came up. It was found to be a water main break. They put gasket. This should have lasted a very long time and lasted less than 10 years, and that was the leak that was causing the damage. They're doing a great job repairing it. They checked the sewer main along there. Also found some switches along the sewer main, cleared those blockages. I heard it just today on Hudson Hub that they're estimating, May 15th reopening.
Give or take.
But that was about, getting asphalt, which gets started, to be made. So man. Rest of the things were more kind of typical small things that, DPW were working on. Oh, the National Grid thing, which is, I guess, is on our docket tonight. The payment of.
The, 105,000?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I guess it's all, there's a way it's all been covered with
Well, no,
changing of.
no. We have a resolution on that, we can, that would be.
We talked about this later, but Rob explained it, which somewhat complicated in my mind, but, he felt like he wrote an amount that just in the future, under the, we develop the budget each year, we need about $100,000 a year to cover, the cost associated with the streetlights going forward.
Yeah, that was a raw deal when we signed into that 20 years ago.
Then, since we've done a few budget items from DPW, I just sent an email to Rob after asking him to summarize. And he did summarize about National Grid. Used to average about $200,000 a year, now it'll be $100,000 a year for the lighting. Does not know how much the Underhill repair is going to be, but that's going to be, come from state touring routes and CHIPS money. And so it's just gonna be less paving, probably no paving. Those city streets will be done this year. Anywhere else. Because also some money had been allocated to the garbage truck previously. This last one, it was discussed repairs needed for the sewer plant, an estimate of $337,000. Not an immediate need, but it needs to be worked into next year's budget and 2027 budget. And there'll be an increase in the sewer fund that will, that will be included. And then, yes, we made a change for the snow removal budget, mostly covered it, there's $336 left in the budget. And, anything that happens through the rest of the year, including December, we'll need to. That was important, just kind of, a few of these things came up to bring it up to you guys. And then the only other thing we discussed was, we did discuss the grants for, infrastructure improvements to a couple of, around the 7th Street Park and at the intersection.
So we have two resolutions tonight
So we'll talk about that.
that are related to this, so we can talk about those when we get to the resolutions.
So we talked about that at the meeting, that's it.
Anything else? Service?
Yes, so some, key points, for the senior center, there's still no commissioner. So there's still no report being given. So I've been calling, Reagan just for updates on, what's going on. Right now, it's basically Zumba. It goes on, a couple times a week, and the county program is doing most of their programming. After the county leaves, most people leave unless it's a drop-in, program. They leave at, I think, at 1:00. So, I did draft and put together a survey and passed along to the committee, basically a transportation survey. My goal is to get that all printed, by the end of this week. It was 5 basic questions on transportation. The goal is to distribute it down, at Bliss Towers, Providence Hall, and the Terrace. Hopefully, some of the committee members are gonna, team up, and we're gonna take and actually go down there and ask people, these questions so we can get it right back. I think, what we can do is if we don't, we can leave some surveys there, we can number them, so there's no duplicates of, of getting, saying, 5 people answering, 5 different, the same people answering the surveys. So that's the seniors, services are not, again, there's not really much going on citywide. City is basically county activities. So the youth department, so there's a couple of things. So, this spring, they're moving from winter to spring focus, basically on getting Oakdale ready for camp. We're gonna do interviews, the week of the school break. They have 30 applicants for counselors and 20 applicants, for lifeguards. The big, component, and the committee really wants to find out and really push this, is where is, the conversation about, the assistant youth director. I know there there's a vacant position, that, you know, maybe can be eliminated and use that position for the assistant, the director position. I know the podcast go to the BEA, but there's some urgency beyond filling that position. One, that position is the camp director. So the last possible, Calvin said June 1st, but that doesn't really give time, to do interviews or whatever. So I think the sooner the better that we can figure out how we can fund any additional, salary for this position, the better. If we can do this in May, I think that'd be even better. I don't know, again, I know there's conversations going on with Calvin and the mayor on how to, fund this position. So that's one of the, big items that the committee really wants to push forward, especially if there's money in the budget. If we eliminate that rec attendant that's not filled, push that to the salary of an assistant director. And the other thing is that camp's gonna be offering a before camp, and after camp, 8 to 9, kind of like it's a pilot program for parents, so they can drop their kids off a little early and they can pick up a little late to try to correspond to an 8 to 4 schedule. The fee would be $50 a week per child, 25 hours any additional child. There is some funding that Calvin said he might be able to tap in for supplemental, for families to be able to afford, the fee. So that's really, the meat of it. The big thing is the, funding that assistant director position as soon as possible. So I don't know, again, I don't know, Margaret, if you're, if it came to the BEA yet. What?
No, the BEA has not had any discussion, but I will follow up with Heather and the mayor.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, if we can get this done and ironed out by May, so we can get it. The position's there, there's a job description, it is a civil service position. So anyone who's put in that position, is provisional until they, pass the test or high enough on the test, when it's called. It can be called in a year, it can be called in 3 years. There's no way to telegraph when civil service calls for that, test. So it would be a provisional, appointment, and it is a supervised position where right now Calvin's the only supervisor, of staff. So it is a really essential position, especially for, camp. So, I think that's basically the gist of.
Has there been any discussion of a seasonal camp director position rather than an assistant director?
A seasonal?
Yeah.
I know in the past they did that. I don't know if there's been a conversation. I think because of nature of that position and the opportunity to have a vacant position. I'm assuming that position that's vacant is probably 35 to 40,000, I imagine. Because it is a full-time position. So it would be adding whatever, to supplement whatever the assistant director position would be coming in. So I think we're not gonna have a better opportunity with that position being vacant, to fund this position, at least maybe 75% that's already in the budget. So I think that, having a part-time director, again, they had it in the
Not
past. It was
full-time,
like
seasonal.
well, that's what I'm saying, seasonal. I can't director, I'm talking about, which that's what they'd be called. So there's qualifications that needs would be like a full 4-year director, because that is the camp director is certified through Department of Health as the person, qualified to run the camp, because of the safety regulations. So in the past, I think it was almost $10,000 to $12,000 for that seasonal position. So my thought is if it's $10,000 or $12,000, right, for a seasonal, but we have $40,000 sitting there for a full-time position, they're gonna need that, assistant director moving forward. So I think doing this now is better than going to try to find a part-time director for the camp. Because of the nature of the time that it'll take and, where it's gonna lead to, for the September school year. So I mean, I don't know what the number looks like, but I think that this is a position we have an opportunity to fill without hitting the budget, fund balance hard with the existing salary being, available, for that position. So basically, you eliminate the rec attendant position, which is a full-time position, and move those funds into funding the assistant director position.
Any
I
comments?
nailed that, right, Gary?
Any-
Dear Nancy, okay.
And just to add to it, since you brought my name up, we think that it's really important that, the powers that be address this, position that seemed to have been a casual discussion up until that point in time.
Okay. I'll follow up with, the treasurer and the mayor. Any comments from council members? Questions? Any public comment? Finance, you want to talk about the
Sure.
bar aspect?
Finance committee met on last Thursday. We discussed, we had the grant funding, application, which went out last month. We received, I believe it's, I want to say like 13 or so.
Who's spoke by you?
Applicants. We awarded the applicants the same as we did last year who applied, with the exception of the fasting, which received an extra $200, and the new applicant for the Hudson Area Library for the walking tour, which received $1,000. Otherwise, everyone received the same as last year. They applied. There's a couple of open item questions, such as Hudson Open Studios, which has just submitted part of their application, which is their ADA compliant component of their event, to be asked for grant funding. We cannot support anything which is not ADA compliant. So the Hudson Mile was not given any funding, as well as the other group called Happen. And the total amount as of right now is 23,500 out of 30,000. Within the, for additional.
Maybe 25 once you have.
25, once we, if we were to include, if we were to make the Hudson Open Studio recommendation with 1,500, it would be 25 total, and the extra $5,000. It's allocated to go back into this fund balance for recent.
HPV, DPW.
Right, recent.
Yeah. So the, you all have received, I believe, the Excel spreadsheet. And you've received all of the actual applications, the documentation of what each of these events is. So, take a look next week, when we're voting to approve, if you have any questions, any revisions that you want to make. That would be the time to do it, but you have all of the material that we had reviewed. And so the decision on the actual apportionment will be next week. Yes?
It was rumored that Hudson Mile was asked to move earlier in the day. Did they do that?
Hudson Mile and, police department and the mayor had multiple meetings. And, they were asked to move, I wasn't in the meeting, so I don't know the exact time that they were asked to move to. They were also asked to consider a different location rather than coming down Warren. There was a lot of concern from the businesses from last year because of the timing of it. They lost a lot of revenue. The restaurants in particular were very hard hit. And the issue with the mile is that unlike the parades, which start at the park, because it blocks off Warren Street all the way up, there's no way to go from the north side of town to the south side of town to cross Warren. And people coming into town had really basically to turn back because they couldn't get through. It's also, unlike the parades, when as the last parade person steps off, the police start opening up the streets. That's not how this works. So it's longer in terms of temporal and considerably more disruptive. And so that time was not going to work for the city.
But they never worked something out.
They did not. No, it has, at this, as of now, the permit has been rejected. You had a question, comment?
in case you hadn't known, I was gonna say it had been rejected, but
Correct.
they didn't want to move the time, I think.
They were willing to move it a little, but not, we're not willing to meet
And
the city's needs.
Yeah, and the community members, in the commercial district of Warren Street, also in the restaurants were a little upset that 5 p.m. closing a street from 5 to 7 in the summer when you have 16 Saturdays to make.
Yes.
Sorry, 26, yeah, you have 26 days of weekend to make your money. For the summer, it was not feasible to lose a full night of dinner service. And that was their complaints that I was hearing at least.
Yes, I heard the same, and also I remember it last year. And the other businesses were also impacted, but the main issue was that it's very, very difficult to navigate the city if you can't even cross over at the park.
I heard a rumor that they worked something out. I was just.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Yeah,
So a question, the organizations that were, that applied, did any of them ask for any extra money from last year? And
pretty much everybody asked for $5,000, which is the max.
They asked for, the max, okay.
Yes, but, we
I missed
allocated,
the dipping of that, because I missed the day, you guys had the finance meeting, but,
I think there were two that didn't ask for
Yeah,
that.
last thing you asked.
But yes, the Dalmatians
Yeah,
asked for 800 last year and 1,000 this year.
right. And then
They always ask, they're always very modest to their request. Any other questions from the council? Any public comment?
I have
Yeah.
a question. We had a $30,000 budget, but so are we holding some of the funds for?
I think, yeah, because even though some of these events do provide some funding for cleanup, which they're supposed to do, which we could actually put into the thing, it doesn't cover the actual cost. So anything we have left over, we feel it would be wise to send it back to DPW and HPD.
I think that makes sense.
Any public comment? Anything else from finance?
No, yes.
Okay. So legal,
Oh, you do have one hand.
excuse me,
You have one hand.
okay, go ahead.
Bill, did you have a comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that echo again. Oh, my goodness.
Bring your radio down.
Is this, is this time to make general comments or just about what was spoken about?
This is the time, if you have any comments or questions about the finance committee report.
Oh. Yeah. Can you give like a general idea of how good the finances are in the city?
Well, the committee report is a report on last month's activity. And the main activity of the finance committee last month was to review the grant applications for events over the summer, which Rich has reported on.
Does the finance committee get involved in the general, well-being of the city of Hudson financially?
Yes, it does. Do you have a specific question?
Yeah, can they give it a grade? Like, where are we standing?
I
Double B.
do not right now. I cannot do that. That's a very vague
Heather
question.
Campbell's online, isn't she? That's all I'll ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, legal committee. So some of the stuff that you're going to see this evening is what we worked on in legal committee this month. One of our discussions was around the proposed law to clarify section 325-17.1. We decided, this was our second month, we had decided to keep it in committee to continue to review. But we were at a point where we felt that it needed to go to the full council for discussion. So that is on our agenda for this evening. This is the issue. It was started out last October. The council voted it down. A revised clarification to the law was submitted by a community member, focusing on 2009 data. And that's what we have in front of us this evening. So that was something we decided to just bring into the full council for discussion. So we will have that this evening. We also looked at contracts for EV charger contract renewal. This is for servicing the EV chargers. License agreement policy with Hudson Paddles for the mayor. And we looked also at changing the procurement policy. We have been asked to make a couple of changes, one to the BEA thresholds, one to procurement, and then there's another one relating to health benefits. And as we looked at that, we decided that we could do all three at the same time. So that will be coming to you next month. Excuse me. Jenny presented some ideas around a parking program whereby new developments without sufficient parking for all units, this is residential primarily, would pay a fee in lieu of parking, and those monies would go towards establishing a parking fund for potentially creating a parking garage. She is going to continue to work on that, so she will be bringing back more information on that next month. She's looking at other municipalities that do similar programs. So that's upcoming. And we did talk, yeah, I have notes from Jason regarding the residential parking issues. The other new business that came up was a request to take a look at the sidewalk law and to see if there can be some amendments to that law to look at urgent targeted repair, given how long it is going to take for the whole program to be completed. So we are going to take a look at that next month, look at the law itself, see if there are any revisions that could potentially be made to speed up repair in some of the more urgent areas and incentivize residents to take advantage of getting a credit by actually repairing urgently needed repair on sidewalks. That was pretty much our meeting this month. Did I miss anything? Anyone from legal? Okay.
General question?
Yeah.
Committees, since I get to think about bringing forward the law clarification, what would be the guidance for committee to, should a committee get to the point of a recommendation? Like I think we decided we bring it here for discussion here.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Like what should a committee be expected
We-
to do?
ideally,
Before they bring it
well,
to full
what you have, the output you have here from the legal committee are resolutions that we put together for the council to vote on. If we work on the legal committee put together the law for reducing the speed limit and so forth, so that's the output that we have from legal. With regard to the sidewalk law, I will look at that and we'll discuss in committee and we'll have some suggestions on ways that it could be changed, which will be brought here. The issue with regard, which I think you're getting at, proposed local law 325, the reason we decided to bring that to the full committee was that we had it in legal for 2 months. We felt that the issues in that particular law were such that it would benefit from a full discussion of the full council rather than having the legal committee put forward recommendations. So we felt that that was a broader type of thing and it would be much better to have the whole council weigh in.
Like, I don't feel like we talked about like the law that had brought to us by the resident. And I don't think we're ready to like,
Well, we
parse
talked,
it and recommend it to be voted on as a jury.
okay, so last month, not this month, month before we did review it and we did discuss it, we decided to take another month and take another look. We did not feel that we were in a position to make recommendations, so therefore it's coming to this committee. The fact that it is here today, it's here for discussion, does not mean that it will be voted on this month. It means it's here for discussion.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the public? Robert? Oh, if you could just, no need to give your name, but, residence, that would be good.
Operation Night is having an event at City Hall called Continued Government Day. So I was just really apologize to come. It's an event where the students can learn about what City Hall does and the common council members do as well.
We got applications.
Is this the document? Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you, we have that, thank you very much.
You surely details of the timings for that day? I think it's new, right? New on.
Hi, Elaine among the operation husband. The event is April 29th. And we pick up the students at Hudson High School about 8:30 and give them their t-shirts. We anticipate arriving here by 9 o'clock to start our day. And there is an agenda that happens, and the brochure that you have really is all the pictures from the events from last year. You know, what's going on. So it's basically you invite council members and legislators that cover our county to come and be part of the morning welcome, which is really maybe about half an hour. Anybody who comes, we ask them to speak for 2 minutes, just to keep it moving. And then we move as a group. Students will stop at right here at the clerk's office. We go to the treasurer's office. We will be calling on you, or actually a student will be calling on you, Council President Morris. I hope that you would be available to meet with a group. A group will meet with City Hall. We aim to also meet with any of the council members who are available during the day. We usually might have a group right here. And then we move to HPD. So there's usually a tour there. And we have a informal lunch where we invite everybody to join us, because people have day jobs and they only be able to come out for lunch. And then after lunch, we reconvene here in the council room to have a mock county council meeting. And that usually happens about 1:15, and I have to get the students back to Hudson High before the bell rings. So the aim is to get them back by 2:30. We do a morning group picture for everybody who can come in the morning for the opening and welcome. We also do another group picture at the end for those of you who have the time to come back and listen to the mock county council meeting. Pretty much trying to keep it that there.
Looking forward to it.
I do want to add this one thing. The topics that they choose, because some of the students have been here for 2 years, come from actual topics that we have heard here at the council meeting, or looking at the articles in the newspaper, as well as giving them the opportunity to bring up something that they feel is happening out in the community, which may or may not be real. I just want to add that, because it's their learning process. I want them excited to speak. And we always have a good time and feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a,
Yeah, you got it, Chris.
go ahead, Liz.
Bill?
You hear me?
Yep.
I think you have the video.
Yeah. I have to tell you that there's a horrible echo. Once again, this month, it's kind of hard to even talk to hear myself repeating myself. And I can't hear anything that's going on in the meeting. I would like to ask this.
Bill, you're
Yeah.
logged in twice. That's why you have an echo.
Pardon me?
You are logged in twice. That is why you have an echo.
I'd like to know two things, if I could. When is somebody from code enforcement going to be involved in the code and infrastructure meetings? And when are we going to have a police commissioner?
What about? Is it much longer? Commissioner? I think so. Yes. Yeah. You have.
Did you get that?
Do you want to answer that?
I don't have any information on when there will be a police commissioner, other than the fact that our police chief, Franklin, is the acting commissioner. So I do not have any other information.
The mayor's supposed to get that
Thank
done?
you, Bill. Thank you. Can you mute this?
Yeah,
Thank
I
you, Bill.
overheard someone volunteering to the mayor to be, saying he would welcome the opportunity to be police commissioner. He had been previously police commissioner, and that would be one Richard Scalera.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
That work.
Okay, so that's our, let me see, where are we here? We've already talked about the article fact communications and time, I think, for our resolution, correct?
I'd rather you.
They should be in order. So our first resolution is Commissioner Appeals. If anyone has questions as we go through, let me know, excuse me.
Communications?
Well, I mentioned that we had already talked about, sorry,
okay, yeah.
I'll highlight it again. The communication that we have here is the pocketbook factory petition that Henry has talked about. It has gone to the mayor's office. And potentially they will come to next meeting.
I think it would, they didn't answer my phone calls, so
Okay.
I think it would be, I'll ask you and the mayor to send them a request.
Okay, all right. Anything else on that?
No?
Okay, all right.
Well, actually, I guess the short-term solutions that we discussed at safety
right.
are tied up with the implementation of painting and sign deployment. So unfortunately, we're waiting till May 1st.
Right.
To see some results.
Okay.
That's it.
Resolutions?
Yeah.
Okay, if anyone has questions as we go through, let me know. First one is Commissioner Deeds. Our next resolution is appointing Sam Samchenko to the Board of Supervisors to represent the City of Hudson for Columbia County Finance Smart Community Task Force. Any questions on that? Our next resolution is authorizing the renaming of City Hall Place, excuse me, the New Brenner Way, to honor the oldest living retired member of the Hudson Police Department. We are hoping that we will have some representation next week at our meeting when we are voting on that. Any questions?
Sometimes streets are double named, is it just gonna not be Hudson?
How this works is this is an honorary thing. What you'll see is the street name doesn't change.
Yeah.
You'll see it's like a brown sign above the other sign, and it is going to be the stretch outside City Hall. Okay.
Margaret,
Yes,
Logan, that was me that sent that, to you. The text regarding this, the law. So I reviewed, for the application.
mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to fit, where, as, I love the idea, but I think that more appropriately for Officer Brenner would be, a proclamation, a key to the city, the, ability to be our leader at Flag Day in a patrol car in front of the council and Memorial Day. I think that naming the street, to me is a difficult sell. And the reason why I say that is because of what it says in the justification. I get it, he's the oldest living, I get all that, and I really appreciate that. That's why I think that, he got proclamations at his birthday from Congress, from all state, I get that. But I think that having a day for him where he can represent, us in praise and key to the city, I think that would be more appropriate in this case. And the reason why I say that is I look at the eligibility for street name and what we've done in the past. Right? And, our boundary and where are we putting our boundary at, right? So, because I see in front of me, just three names, right, that pop up. Sergeant Philly, as, a police officer that passed away, technically in the line of duty. A volunteer firefighter passed away in the line of duty, Mark Torresano. And then if we go to the living side of things, what sticks to my head is Dick Tracy, Richard Tracy. He brought programs to the city. He gave youth, employment. So, when we put those in perspective of street naming, I think that, giving him his day, I think that stands to me more powerful. Because, I don't know, and I remember, growing up, I remember his brother on divorce, vaguely. But I remember, Pete Pollock, known as Pete the Cop, when there was community policing, he took care of his, mom. He was the officer in, Odds Against Tomorrow. But so where the guideline, it's tough to sell for me because of what number one says, it's in terms of naming it for someone living. And I get where the idea comes from. I want to say yes, but I just don't, in terms of what number one, where does that fit into the square? Right, so that's my only thing about this proposal. If we look at who received it in the past, there is documentation of, what was done in our community. We walk hours, right? Raised great kids, did a cultural change during the time to become, Black owners of a business, to really represent our community. We have, Charlie Butterworth, where sometimes no matter where you go in the city, you're gonna see, even today, something he did for the city. And you got, Mayor Wheeler, who during a tough time, really represented the city, stayed involved in the city, even with retirement. I know someone who just passed away a year or so ago, lived 102, that lived on Howard Avenue. That after she retired from, she volunteered most of her time at the library. So where do we go in terms of this process of naming, a street? And I get that, where it's coming from. But I think that we need to recognize in a different way, a more represented way.
Yeah.
And kind of do it that way rather than this way.
That makes sense, Dominic. It is more of a posthumous award.
It doesn't say that though, when the law that was passed to put this in place does not actually say that. Right?
It says it has to be,
I understand what you're saying, I'm just saying what was passed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Was, this is in conformance with what was passed.
Yeah.
And as for what is more appropriate, less appropriate, I understand what you're saying, but these nominations come in from family members or supporters and so forth. They don't originate from us, not that council is saying,
Right.
let's name a street. An application comes in, the mayor, sponsors it or approves it, whatever. And then, our resolution is to authorize it. So if there are objections, by all means, don't vote in favor of it. There's no obligation to, but it's not for us to say, and I agree with you, having him as a grand marshal or whatever would be a very nice gesture. I think I agree. But that's not what his supporters have asked the city to do. And so that's what we're looking at, and, we'll vote on it next week. Any other comments? But
So we can change these between now and then, can't we? We make alterations and vote on those alterations. That's right. Yeah, so why don't we just make an amendment, Dominic, with your suggestion, then.
Well, we can amend this, but this resolution is to whether or not we are going to authorize renaming of City Hall Place.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, that's what this is.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says when we should give a key to the city or how we appoint grand marshals. The council has never appointed grand marshals.
If the family heard that idea and liked that idea
Yeah.
and
right.
communicated that to us, then we'd feel comfortable in rejecting this law in lieu of something else, but I wouldn't want to do that until then.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Makes sense.
Okay. Next resolution is accepting senior center donations. Next is approving the firefighter listing pursuant to civil service award. This is just names of firefighters who have completed their service the past year. Next is authorizing the mayor to execute a license agreement between City of Hudson and Hudson Pebbles. This is basically the same agreement that they have had with the city for some time. There were no changes to that. Next resolution is to amend the 2025-2026 streetlight accounts. This is Jason, what you're asking about. So the bottom line here is that $75,000 of this has to come out of the general fund. So there is funding. You were asking about, that it seemed to have all been found, et cetera, but actually 75,000 has to come out of the general fund. And the explanation that Rob had provided was that in the BEA process, he had in fact asked for what was a reasonable expected amount. And in the final budget process, it was cut back, I think, to 30,000. And so that's why there is insufficient funds in the budget to pay for this. Yes, question?
I have a question,
Yes,
many questions.
I do.
Why, how did we get here?
How did we get here?
No, I guess my question is this also encompassing the misbilling that we were getting?
That's
right?
what this is all about,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yeah.
Because it says, it's misleading when it doesn't say they screwed up not charging us to the tune of
But it wasn't just-
$100,000.
they
And
weren't-
I'm surprised, we made a mistake on the accounts.
If you don't have the full explanation provided by Rob, I can.
I did,
Yeah.
but that was
So,
me doing the spark notes version of it.
Yeah, right, but they were issuing refunds and
Yeah.
adjustments, and
Yeah.
they were also billing, and they weren't billing correctly.
Correct.
And they themselves were delayed on auditing and approving the exchange for the old lights to the
Right.
new system. And so he was estimating what he thought it was going to be for the BEA process, and
A
then
little higher.
the BEA cut back
Yeah,
the approved amount.
no, yeah, so, yeah.
So this is this is how we are
But
doing.
the billing issue was still an issue, but not as big as the initial thought.
Right,
cut that.
yeah.
That part of it.
I feel, and not anything that, not our making, but the raw deal that we are getting from now owning these lights is, very costly.
Yeah.
It will be, no, it's going to be less costly in the long run.
Yeah,
It is actually less costly.
aside from us doing the maintenance now.
It's still gonna be less.
It's something because we're doing LED lights and.
So it's half the, and also there was, fees every month
Yeah,
for maintenance of them.
right, so now we
So-
also still, we have a third-party contractor, we still use the city electrician for all these, so.
What you're talking about is, Rob said, we have to move, when they put the new pole, you have to move.
What were we talking about?
Right.
Like that's the yellow pole to new pole, whereas
Which now they're all
They
aging
usually
out,
do.
so we should, I guess I'm leading up to, we shouldn't be surprised when we see an initial over the next 2 years or so on maintenance for the new streetlight remountings, because all those poles are starting to age out.
Okay,
So I guess, yeah, it is probably cheaper over time.
did you have a comment?
I mean, the city is saving money by using the LED lights versus the incandescents. So that is saving hundreds of thousands of dollars over time.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I think that they switched over.
Are there any public comment?
No.
We have one in the room.
Nick Zakos, I was just wondering how it works with the pulling money from the 2025 budget to pay for this into the 2026 budget. I thought the 2025 budget was done, finished.
There are sometimes leftovers, some I'm not mistaken, percent, carryover funds from previous years that weren't used.
The books have not yet been closed. Is Heather online?
Yeah.
Heather, do you
I am
want to
online.
respond to that process of, funds from 2025 being used? We did this last month with something else, but do you want to
Yes.
comment on that?
Of course. Because the majority of those costs, so each individual invoice was reviewed. Depending on the date of the invoice determines when that expenditure needs to be charged. The majority of the costs of the National Grid invoices that were not received were in 2025. That is the amount that is being charged to 2025. If we did not charge it back, the auditors would look through the finances and make us charge it back after the fact regardless. So the fact that we're still able to do it now makes life slightly more easy. And obviously, if we have to record the 2025 expenses in the fiscal year 2025, the next goal was to see if there were any budgetary amounts remaining that could cover that. And that is what that resolution does. Clearly, for the amount that was for the 2026 invoices, we are not far enough in the year of 2026 to know if there's any, additional funds that could have been transferred. That's why that amount is coming out of fund balance.
That answer it, Nick?
I think so, but this will change the final budget number for 2025.
The 2025 numbers have not been finalized yet, so there are a number of moving parts, and this is just one of them.
Yeah, the books are still open. Yes, but it will change.
Thank you.
Next resolution is authorizing training for planning board members. 3 planning board members completed an hour and a half of training, and that's what that is. They're required to do, I think, 4 per year. Next resolution authorizes the mayor to enter into a collection services agreement with T2 Systems. We talked about this briefly earlier. That was, let me recap. So we have in the past been doing recruitment of parking fines and so forth in-house. This is an agreement with T2 where they will take over doing reminders when a fine is overdue. They will also then continue to pursue if the payment is still not paid. They're also going back retrospectively to look at unpaid parking fines that we have. Our practice, when we were doing it in-house, we simply sent 1 reminder, and which was how we ended up with a build-up of unpaid fines. This particular agreement, and I believe I sent the agreement to everybody to look at. We don't post contracts publicly, but if you have any questions, just call me. This particular agreement, the company that will do the collection will directly bill to the individual paying the fine their administrative fee. So there is no cost to the city of engaging in this. If the fine is $20, we will get the $20, and if the administrative fee is $5, the person who owes the $20 will pay $25, and the company keeps the administrative fee. But if you have any questions, take a look at the contract and let me know. Next resolution is, this is a, excuse me. Sorry, go ahead.
Heather has her hand.
Heather?
Yeah, maybe I should wait till the end of all the resolutions, but I just wanted to comment on 2. The training, if there's a cost associated with that, as far as I know, that was not a budgeted expense. Maybe it's in the council budget. I'm not sure. And then I believe you had the other one for the, not the one you were just discussing, but the one before that for the additional EV stations.
We haven't gotten to that one yet.
Okay, apologies.
So I was not given any information about costs for training.
It's free.
Yeah, okay, it's great. There is no cost associated with the training.
Great. Just
Okay.
checking.
Yeah. Next is a resolution, selecting, plug-in station online vendor, PISO, as the vendor for additional EV charging stations. So this is, something where we have to select a vendor, and these are the proposed locations are, the city lot on Front Street and, the lot adjacent to the dog park. This resolution, Heather, has language that this is authorized to enter into an agreement pending successful grant awards. Because the cost associated with this is, I believe, was like $77,000.
The grant we received was 75,000.
75,000. And so in order to apply for that grant, we have to have the vendor.
Yeah.
So this basically what we're doing here, Heather, is CAC selected this vendor where we can now apply for the grant to get these additional charging stations. But this resolution is pending successful grant awards. I think that was your question.
Yeah, well, I think I'm getting two things conflated, so for that I apologize. So, Rich, this is different than the $75,000 grant that the city was already awarded? It's yet
No,
another 75?
No.
Then weren't
the
we
same
already
grant,
awarded
sorry.
that grant because weren't we already awarded that grant? Because we did an
Yes.
interfund loan to give you the funds.
Yes, we have already been awarded the grant as part of the contract that we now are in the vendor
Right.
selection process, yes.
Okay,
But don't
so
we have
this
to
is just a
wait for,
continuation
like,
of that
a year or
project.
something?
Yes, it's a continuation of that project, yes. There is additional money from National Grid that we are waiting on to see if we will qualify for that, but first we have to select the vendor at this point in the contract. And then what
Gotcha.
happens- Vendor goes down to National Grid, see if we get National Grid money. If we get the National Grid money, that gets combined with the grant money for the 75 grand that goes along with the pay for the stations, and then the project is implemented. But it is dependent upon whether or not we get the National Grid grant money.
Right.
Okay, because the contract is more than the 75 grand of the National Grid. I'm sorry, the 75 grand of the original grant. Okay, perfect, got that. And
Yeah.
I think I was also conflating that with the, I assume the upcoming thing about the current charging stations and the maintenance fee and repairs. So I apologize for that.
We'll get to that one. That's coming up.
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different.
Rich, are these level 3 chargers?
Yes, no, maybe. So we don't know which one. It depends upon the National Grid make ready money. If, we will go apply for both of them for level 2 and level 3. Level 2 will be across the street from, the Amtrak station. So there'll be 3 levels similar to back behind City Hall, 3 level 2 stations. Right now, there's a really long waiting list of other municipalities that want that make ready money. So we may get that money, we may not this year, it might be next year, we don't know. If not, there's also make ready money for a level 3 station, which will be down by Dog Park. So I do not see us getting both. We would probably get one of the others, depending upon if the National Grid money is available.
Any other public comments, Leonard?
Level 2 would be nice. I think we should get the
Level 3.
Yeah.
I know what
The next one, Heather, is the renewal of the charge point contract. So this one is the contract for 17,000. It's a 5-year contract for servicing, with warranties for the EV charging station. We are still pending information on whether or not this is, a contract that is paid upfront for the 5-year period. The mayor has a question into the vendor, or whether it is something that's paid on an annual basis. But basically our service contract, it has expired and we need to renew it. So you have questions on this?
I just want to make sure there's a I just want to make sure there's a corresponding budget amendment because as we discussed in our email thread, this was not budgeted for in 2026. So you can't authorize the contract unless you've appropriated the funds for it.
Is all that something we can sort out this month? Including the mayor's.
That's up to
Yes.
That's up to Margaret, yeah.
Okay, but I'm still trying to find out whether it's paid in advance for 5 years or for 1 year, because I don't know how much to put into the budget line if I don't have the answer to that question.
We'll wait, Charles.
Okay, next is something that we have to vote on. This is a resolution, authorizing application for a Hudson River Valley Greenway grant. And to, answer the question before you ask it, Heather, there is in fact a funds available and the account number is listed in the resolution. So do you want to give a brief, description of this, Jason LaBella grant?
I do, thank you. So, been working with Novella to, we talked about a number of intersections, but we've reduced it down to 2 because the size of the grant that's available can kind of handle, conceptual design for 2 areas. So the money from, the Greenway grant would be $10,000 and it requires a 50% match, which Margaret was helpful in finding. From the truck study, leftover money that Dee Dee Barrett helped us get. And so with the 10,000 there and the 10,000 from the Greenway grant, we will pay about $20,000 to do conceptual studies of, we call it the triangle, and I think everyone knows what the triangle is, the hospital triangle, or where Columbia Street, Prospect Avenue, and Columbia Turnpike all come together. And then, the other is the public square or 7th Street Park. Background on that is the kind of public square. We're looking to make 7th Street in that block one way.
I guess, no, you're not president anymore, you knocked it down.
So,
Put it right behind.
during the renovation of the park, they wanted to expand the sidewalks around the park and make 7th Street one way in that block. And it popped in my head that maybe Park Place should also be one way and we continue the pattern. And, the main purpose of that, helping with congestion of trucks leaving Park Place onto Warren and trucks leaving Warren onto Park Place. So the trucks that, the truck route would be shifted over to 7th Street, then the trucks headed south would have to turn left, or could turn left with a light. Which I've seen trucks do anyway, and I thought it worked out well. So that would help with, that interference. So, this Greenway grant is due, the reason we're voting tonight, the application is due Thursday. Labella is standing by for our answer. So Mayor will sign the contract tomorrow if we pass this. And, in about 6 weeks, we will get a report, that has analyzed traffic patterns, recommendations for safety, and general kind of broad brush ideas of how to. And then they parlay that grant and that work into the community, climate smart community grants and a Safe Streets for All grant. So we'll, one step at a time. If this works and we like it, we move forward with these other applications in May and July.
Great.
So, questions on this? Any hands raised?
No.
Okay, so can I have and you're gonna need to do roll call. Can we have a motion to vote on this resolution?
Motion.
Henry is motion. Can we have a second? Who on a second?
President Morris,
Yes,
Haddad,
Aye.
Bernhagen,
Yes.
Rhodey,
Yes.
Zerler, Foster,
Yeah.
Roberts. Felton is absent. Vogel,
Aye.
Hudson is absent. Moranti.
Aye.
motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay. Next resolution, is authorizing event funding. You have all the material for that. We can vote on that next week. Yeah, well, we have to update it with, the funding for, the resolution itself won't, the spreadsheet will,
Yes.
the attachment will. Let me put that to one side, because you need to give that to, sure. Next is authorizing the mayor to execute a license agreement between the city of Hudson and the Hudson River Historic Boat Sailing Society. This is outside of the purview of the sloop club. This is in a different slip. And they do programming for residents and visitors to the city. So if you have any questions between now and next week, let me know. We have a comment, any questions from council members first? Okay, go ahead.
My name is Chris Hoppy, and I'm here representing the Hudson River
Thank you.
Restoration and Sailing Society, so if you have any questions.
Can you just give the council some background and information on what this program is?
Some of you may be familiar with the sloop Eleanor. She's 121 years old this year, and we've been sailing on the Hudson for 5 years with her. She's in the warehouse for repairs this season, so she won't be sailing. We have a loan of a 18-foot catboat. That's a very traditional looking vessel, and she has a very shallow draft, so she, unlike the Eleanor, is able to get into those small slips. And so we thought it would be great to have the public exposure and provide sailings from the Hudson waterfront rather than catboat for the season. And
Great.
yeah, we provide low cost and free access to sailing on the Hudson River.
Excellent.
Is the vessel ADA compliant?
No.
There's no accommodations for somebody in wheelchair?
We'd be willing to give it a shot. We've helped people far into their 90s get on and off the boat. So we're trying to be always trying to accommodate whoever wants to do this.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next is, from the IDA, actually. This is, authorizing the mayor to hold a public hearing regarding progress and administration of CDBG project, for return brewing. So this goes back a couple of years ago when this project was beginning. They received a grant. Part of the requirement of the, grant is that they give an update on progress there. I think they're closing this out at this point, but they need to give a second update to the community on the progress on this grant and on this project. Any questions? That would be a mayor's public hearing. The next is, did I put this in before? Yeah, this is video conferencing. So,
Are we introducing these?
No.
the process is not introduction. This is everything that we're going to be looking at, and the process next week is that there will be a motion to vote, a second, unless we choose not to bring something forward for a vote, which is always a possibility. This next one is about video conferencing. So essentially, this is codifying what we currently do. It's defining what we mean by extraordinary circumstances. It is allowing for work schedule changes. Taking travel, if you need to travel for work, there are provisions for two absences relating to that. But all it is doing is really setting forth clearly what constitutes extraordinary circumstances. So in order to do this, we need to, our current arrangement was passed by local law. So we are going to be repealing the previous law and doing this by resolution because the New York State law relating to this gets revised on a regular basis. It's up to expire in it's the summer, July of this year. It may be renewed, it may be modified, it may not be renewed. But by doing it by resolution, if we need to make a change, it's easier to make a change. Do you want to comment on this, Ken?
Just that, yeah, the thing is in the local law isn't quite what you want. So that has to be revised by another local law or repealed. That's the only way to change the proposed one. And since that has to be changed in any case, it seems more, like you said, they'd have a little more flexibility to replace what you want as a resolution, and you can just change on it based on the cost and expense and that would change and show it every time. And you may find that you just want to tweak it, that, you know, a certain number of absences, you want to increase or decrease, or you want to include one other, some other factor. It's just a lot easier to look at. The other is, when you're just sort of dealing with internal procedures, there's really no reason to necessarily put it in the spot. So simultaneously, we're repealing the local law. That has to have a public hearing, has to go through the mayor's office, that's the word. I mean, have to be signed as well, but they're gonna have to sign the since you'll want to replace the other. There's also a resolution that's been in place since 2022 that affects other boards and committees, other than the common council, they've been operating under. And this just leaves that in place. It's a resolution as it is, and this is just changing things for the council here. So you'll end up after this with essentially a resolution, one for the common council and one for everybody else. And they're easily adjustable to your ordinances.
So the companion resolution that goes with this is, local, well, it's not resolution, it's a local law to repeal the provisions.
Oh, one thing that I did notice is that the previous local law made no mention of banning voting, which the stuff.
That's because this is defining what constitutes extraordinary circumstances. So for example, let's say your regular work day, or your regular work shift means that you will never be here. Because you work nights and you can never attend a common council meeting. So that's not an unusual change or anything else, it's just that you cannot attend common council meetings. That would be a problem, right? So having somebody who's simply unable to fulfill being here to vote on an ongoing continuous basis is not extraordinary. So this is just codifying that.
Clarify. Previously, if you were absent, even for an extraordinary circumstances, there were certain points where we allowed council members to vote on an active.
Oh, yes, you can, I mean.
Am I reading this wrong? Because I
Nothing
believe
will
it says that. I remember seeing something that said that you will not be able to vote, you're not.
That's, I think, if they exceed that number.
Right, if,
You
right,
can let them,
That makes sense.
you can dial in
Right.
and watch.
Gotcha.
right.
All right, yeah, that's fair.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Next up is, what we have brought then from the legal committee to the full council. So this is what, I talked about a little earlier. We have received from a, community member, who has presented, at least to the legal committee, a proposal to clarify the code 325.17.1 to refer to the level of activity that was going on at the dock in 2009, which is the closest in proximity time-wise to 2011. In that there is language in the code that speaks to not increasing or intensifying. Such use of effect of the state charter shall not, nor shall any external evidence of such use be increased by any means whatsoever. So this is basically looking at the resolution that we had, the local law amendment that we had last year was relying on information from 2015, which was from a Creighton Manning study. And this provides research that goes closer to the actual time that, that the 2011 language was put into the code. The level of activity in 2009 is significantly higher than the previous, the thing we looked at last October, because the property changed hands and Colorado was not yet fully up and running in their activities as of the 2015 data. So what you're seeing here is a increased level because this is more likely to be closer to what was actually going on in 2009. So I think that's a reasonable summary of where we stand. So questions? Donna is here. Donna submitted this to us to provide summary or overview of what this is about. I don't think you've presented this to the full council before, have you? So do you want to give a brief summary?
I presented 4 documents to the legal committee. Do you want me to focus on the last one in terms of why use annual limits? Or talk about the research I did to determine?
Well, you know, why this is, why it is important to clarify the code and why the information that's provided here as clarification is valid information.
So, code provision states that use of the dock shall be as uses existed in 2011. So the question is, what was the use in 2011? I did a lot of research to determine that and found that the best available information was a 2010, January 2010 Creighton Manning truck study conducted, commissioned by ONG, who leased the dock at the time from Folsom. And information in that study indicated that what the annual tonnage was, activity at the dock, and 27.5 tons per truck. We could determine how many truck trips or round trips occurred during the latest year, which was 2009. And this was activity going on at the time that the LWRP was being developed. The draft generic environmental impact statement was being developed. Those are the numbers that are included in the proposed resolution in terms of limits. 148,000 tons per year. And I forget the exact number, 5,000 and some round trips per year that relate to over 10,000 truck trips to and from the dock. Okay. A question came up during the committee meeting about why not daily or hourly limits rather than annual limits. And I did research on that and determined that annual limits are the only way that you can cap volume. Daily limits will not allow you to do that because there's so much variability from day to day in dock operations. They don't run trucks every day of the year. There's market demand, weather, barge availability, workforce capacity, operating hours. So a lot of factors impact the daily activity. Or even how many hours they're working, they're running trucks during the day can vary. So the only way you can cap activity, if you want to cap it to what existed in 2011, is to determine what is the throughput for the year. And the throughput is, for example, 148,000 tons was the activity in 2009.
Do we have questions?
So this study was done on city roads, not obviously the all road, right? So this study was done using city roads?
So the Creighton Manning January 2010 traffic evaluation, the primary purpose of that evaluation was to assess, I'm not an engineer, so forgive me for simplistically explaining this. But the traffic volume that would be crossing the different intersections on the way from the quarry to the dock and roadway capacity. So the intent wasn't to measure volume of truck activity to and from the dock. But there are two data points, or there's a number of data points in that study that comment on the volume of activity in the dock in 2009, and that is the 148,000 tons of aggregate per year. And on average, a truck would handle 27.5 tons per trip to the dock. So that's how we were able to determine the volume of truck activity and tonnage.
So they're using a haul route now, right? They're using the haul.
So this is about the dock. Yeah. Any other questions from council members? Any hands raised? Robin?
No.
Okay.
Is it the time for us to debate?
Something I want to do, and, I'd like to go into attorney-client meeting session. Sorry?
Executive session,
Not executive.
different, thank you, just.
Can we close the online meeting? Before we do, I'm thinking 15 minutes. For those of you online, we should be back within about 15 minutes. If you're going to try again, try logging back in again. We still have a couple of items to cover. We could just, we'll close the room, but we'll be coming back in in about 15 minutes.
Attorney client, that would just be legal guidance, but then if you're gonna discuss it among yourselves, that should be done back out in the open session. So that's fine. So you will be returning to the regular session, but perhaps talking about.
Well, no, we have other business.
Okay.
Well, thank you.